What's going on, guys? Welcome into our first Detroit Lions game day show that will be recorded live. Real quick, before I get into it, before I start talking some ball, I've had to take a few days off. Think the last time I put out an episode was about 3 days ago. I've just been having a hectic personal life, hectic work life. Nothing bad, all good news. That'll come on later down the road. I'm excited to make some changes, some different stuff that's going to be going on with the Detroit Den 313. Like I said, this is all good stuff. Just been a little hectic lately for me. Got some stuff going on at work that's going in a good direction. Got some stuff in the personal life that's going in a good direction. Just had to take a little bit of time off and focus on that. But this is our first Detroit Den 313 game day show. And as much as I miss putting out some episodes daily and putting out stuff there every day for you guys and having a little dialogue, I decided I'm not going to miss a game day episode. Let's try something new. Let's try to do a live show for a game day episode one time. So, as you all know, tomorrow afternoon, we play the Kansas City Chiefs going into Arrowhead, a place we're familiar with, a place we've dominated recently. Went in there, took Patrick Mahomes, handed them a loss while they're trying to celebrate a Super Bowl. It's a little different for us this time. It's a little preseason. Game doesn't mean too much, doesn't mean anything at all, really. But we're looking for some depth pieces. We're looking to see some guys make this team, some roster battles, some stuff like that. So let's get into some injuries. And again, life's been hectic for me the last few days. So I might not be 100% up to date with what's going on. If I'm wrong about something, leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. I usually start off game day shows with some injuries. So I know that Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, and James Houston were all banged up. Those are kind of like, I know there's some other guys that are out for the season, like Emmanuel Mosley or some other guys with some bumps and bruises. But Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, those guys played last week, played good, didn't get a lot of playing time. I think Rakestraw had about 15 snaps, looked pretty good. Terrion Arnold, highly rated rookie that we're very excited about. I think they're shutting him down until the start of the season, which I'm fine with. If these guys are going to be starters and we're talking about making a Super Bowl run, we don't need them out there in meaningless games, getting bumps and bruises that are just going to linger all season. Let's get them right for the Rams game coming up here in about, we got about 3 weeks left till we play the Rams. So I'd rather have those guys healthy and ready to go when it's time and it's actual meaning football. James Houston. I've been very critical of James Houston this whole offseason, calling him a one-trick pony. And I feel like last week against the Giants, they were kind of putting him in positions. I think they were just kind of testing the waters a little bit with James Houston, putting him in a lot of coverage, a lot of pass defense reps instead of pass rusher reps. And I think that's where he's going to strive. I think that's just kind of his role as being a one-trick pony, but he's going to be really good at that one trick of rushing the passer. He's got elite speed. He rushes the passer at a high level. I'm not worried about that at all. I think they're just kind of tinkering with him a little bit, trying to drop him into some coverage, putting him in some responsibilities in the defensive passing game. And it didn't really look good. He was probably one of the worst rated players last week. I think he had like a 28.3 rating on PFF, and I don't really get too high into that. But when I sat back and rewatched the game for the second time, that's just kind of what I noticed was that James Houston was no, John, we don't play today, tomorrow, but I got some things going on tomorrow, so I wanted to do my game day episode today. Appreciate you joining in, though. So James Houston, I feel like he got a bad rap last week. I think they're just kind of tinkering with him, putting him into some pass coverage stuff just to see what he could do, just testing the waters a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. So this week, I don't know if he's going to play. I know he's a little banged up, so we'll see. Those are the three main injuries I have going into the game this week. Is those injuries right there. Dan Campbell's kind of hinted. He's kind of been beating around the bush a little bit about if these starters are going to play. And I haven't seen anything official on who's playing or who's not playing. I know he kind of hinted that some of the starters might play, but not all of them. So I don't know exactly who that's going to be. I'll tell you right now who I don't want to see is anyone on any starters. But if we're going to play some, I don't know. I've seen some mixed things going on with should the Detroit Lions play Jared Goff, should they not? I know some other teams have. I think the Chiefs have come out and said that they're going to play Patrick Mahomes tomorrow for like a quarter, and I think that's absolutely stupid. The Super Bowl champs putting out the lifeline of your team, Travis Kelce, or Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think you should be playing those guys, but Dan Campbell kind of hinted that some of the starters were going to play, and I haven't seen anything on who that will officially be yet. I know last year the offensive line suited up. Jared Goff threw on the pads and said, if my guys are playing, I'm playing too. So I love that mentality as much as I don't want to see it. I like the camaraderie that Jared Goff's like, hey, man, my dudes are suiting up. I'm suiting up as well. So let me ask you guys this. Do you think the starters should play? And if you do think they're going to play, which ones will it be? Leave it in the comments and we'll have a little discussion about that while I continue rambling on here. And we're going to keep the topic related to quarterbacks. So as you guys know, this past week, we signed Jake Fromm. Kind of bounced around the league a little bit. I think he was last with Washington, played with the Giants. He's just kind of bounced around. Not really and I did do an episode on this, and it's not a move that overly excites me with Jake Fromm. And I think I was kind of anticipating a Ryan Tannehill signing, and that didn't happen. I think Tannehill is just a more proven NFL player. Now, Jake Fromm, what's his role going to be? It's pretty much just going to be to come in and be an emergency, be a player that nobody really wants to see, be someone that just kind of holds a clipboard, wears a hoodie, and just kind of hangs around on game days, essentially. I want to see more Hendon Hooker. I want to see more Hendon Hooker tomorrow. I want to see more consistency. I think Hendon Hooker had a very, very good game last week. Probably the most exciting quarter or two drives that we really had last week against the New York Giants was when Hendon Hooker played. So I want to see more of that. It sucked he got a concussion, had to come out of the game, but I think Hendon Hooker has to earn that role of quarterback too. And I've been pretty firm on this hill that just because Nate Sudfeld sucks so bad doesn't mean that Hendon Hooker should just win the job based on that. I want Hendon Hooker to go out and actually win the job. I want him to take over. I want him to build some confidence and kind of just establish himself that if we're week 6 or whatever week it is in the NFL and Jared Goff tweaks a little something, rolls an ankle, gets a little boo-boo, whatever it may be, I can have full confidence in Hendon Hooker coming in with the starters and taking over the game and playing very well. So I'm excited. I want to see Hendon Hooker continue to play. I want to see what he can do. I don't want to see Nate Sudfeld. I know we probably will just because we have 3 quarterbacks, which is another reason why I don't think Jared Goff will play. Jake Fromm deserves some reps. He's the new guy. I don't know how up to date he is with the playbook and the personnel packages and all that. And then Hendon Hooker, who's been around for a little over a year now, kind of mostly mental reps, but last week got a little game time action. I want to see a full half from Hendon Hooker. I'd like to see it in the first half where he could play with the number 2s instead of the number 3s. I think that would be the fair thing to do, but I'm just kind of sick of Nate Sudfeld. I don't expect much from Jake Fromm. Give me a chance to get a really good look at the number 2 guy who's going to be the number 2 guy of the future. Even if that's not right this second, Hendon Hooker is essentially the future of the Detroit Lions. So I'd like to get a better look at that. I think if he got second team reps, that would be the right thing to do. And leave some comments down below, guys. Let me know how you feel about Hendon Hooker. I know he's got a huge following. There's a lot of loyal Hendon Hooker fans, and I'm just excited to see Hendon Hooker. I hope Fountain or DPJ shows out. Brad better not jump on someone who gets cut from. Yeah, I kind of talked about that a little bit too, and I had that in my notes. Electric and Bluetooth Lions gaming. I kind of have that as a question in my notes for today. Is that wide receiver 3 spot has been kind of inconsistent. It seems like a different guy is taking over that role every single day, whether it's someone like you mentioned, DPJ or Darius Fountain, Caden Davis. It's just been kind of a slew of names in that wide receiver 3 spot. So let me ask you guys another question. If we don't get a solid look at someone who we really think could take over that wide receiver 3 spot this week, should Brad Holmes bring in someone like a Juju Smith-Schuster who was recently just cut, or maybe even a Hunter Renfrow, who I've been really looking at? I think Hunter Renfrow would be a nice little addition for the Detroit Lions, the way he plays football and kind of the way the Detroit Lions are set up. I like a Hunter Renfrow who's had bad quarterback play the last couple of years while he was with the Raiders. And we see Devontae Adams kind of suffering from that as well. So I'm all for the Detroit Lions possibly bringing in Hunter Renfrow if the price is right. It's not going to cost you much. Why not, man? I think he's a nice possession guy. He's like I mean this in a respectful way. He's like a poor man's Amon-Ra St. Brown, just a route runner, a guy who's going to move the chains, move the sticks, keep possessions alive, catch the football. And then we got Jamison Williams as our deep threat and Sam Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery. I really like Hunter Renfrow. And if no one's really dominating or taking over that wide receiver 3 spot, why not bring him in? And I'm not opposed to Juju Smith-Schuster either. He's just not my first option. But I don't know. Nobody's really taken over and saying, hey, that wide receiver 3 spot's mine. It's kind of changing on a daily basis. It seems like every time I jump on Twitter and I see So and so had looked good with the first team today, or Caden Davis looked good, and then the next day it's Tom Kennedy looked good, and it's just there's no consistency from that wide receiver 3 spot. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking Khalif Raymond. I'm not worried about Khalif Raymond. He's going to make the team. I think he's one of the top and most underrated special teams players in the NFL, especially in the return game. I really like what Khalif Raymond brings there, and I like Khalif Raymond in the passing game too, but I don't think he's going to be a true wide receiver 3. We need a guy who can actually I don't want to knock Khalif Raymond. He's one of my favorite players, so I don't want to say too much and sound like I'm bashing him. But I think if you brought in Hunter Renfrow, it kind of changes your offense in a good way. He's just a route runner, man. He's a Monroe St. Brown on a little bit more of a poor man's version, like I said. I'm all for it. And Hunter Renfrow, I'm looking at his stats a couple years ago. He was 1,000-yard receiver, 9 touchdowns, and then he lost Derek Carr and had to suffer through the Jimmy Garoppolo era in Vegas. So it just hasn't really worked out. And Devontae Adams can speak on that. Like I said, it's just not a good situation out there in Vegas. So if Hunter Renfro's available, why not go get him? Why not go get 2 guys that are just absolute route running machines with St. Brown and Renfro and Sam Laporta? And then you got to worry about J-Mo, who's had a hell of a training camp so far. Gibbs, Montgomery in the running game, the best offensive line in football. Like, I think Hunter Renfro would be a really nice addition, and you don't have to give up much for him. Absolutely, Mike. That's what I'm preaching, man. Nobody's taking over that wide receiver 3 spot. Let's bring in someone who can be a little bit more dependable, because we just haven't seen it too much yet. Real quick, guys, while I'm chatting, I see more and more viewers jumping in here. Please, please, please hit that like button. Push this channel to a bigger audience. It's much appreciated. Sticking with the offense, man. Again, don't want to see any starters tomorrow for the Chiefs. Don't want to see any starters even lingering around near a football field. Sit on the sidelines, drink your Gatorade, eat your seeds, think about football, but don't be playing football. I'm looking for these running backs. I really liked what I saw last week from Sione Vaki. Small sample size, not a lot of body work, but I think he looked good at times. I mean, he had like a 15-yard run where he looked elusive, showed a little speed, showed a little size. Sione Vaki, also a piece that I think is going to be mostly a special teamer. I think he'll make a huge difference in the special teams, whether it's punt return, kick return. If something happens to Khalif Raymond, backup running back 3 possibly. He played some wide receiver in high school. This kid can do a lot of different things. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more out of Sione Vaki this week too. And Craig Reynolds, man, he's not giving up that job. He's not going to say, oh, man, you guys drafted a running back who's pretty versatile. Like, I'm out of a job. No, Craig's out there fighting too. So I'm liking that running back battle. That's probably one of my favorite battles that I've seen so far, because who's 1 and 2. Who's going to steal that 3 spot? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Craig? Is it going to be Vaki? I don't know. Those guys are battling out to see. Offensive line. Backup offensive line last week. I got to be careful. I feel like the backup offensive line last week was kind of the scapegoat for Nate Sudfeld. I feel like Nate Sudfeld, and again, like I said, after the game's over, I jump on here, I do a show, give you guys my initial reaction, and then throughout the week, I give a more in-depth analysis of what I see. I go back and I rewatch whatever game at least 2 more times. I watch it taking more notes on the offense and more notes on the defense the next time. What I saw from Nate Sudfeld, I didn't see a whole lot of blunders by the backup offensive line. Now, are they great? Are they Hall of Famers? Are they Pro Bowlers? No. But there were several times in last week's game where Nate Sudfeld had plenty of time to throw the football, plenty of time. He stayed on his number 1 read instead of going through some progressions, scrambling out of the pocket, missing guys that are wide open, holding the ball too long, not having much pocket presence or presence awareness, or whatever you guys want to call it, in the pocket, where he just has no idea where the pass rush is coming from, and just making bad decisions. And I saw a lot of people just knocking the offensive line. Like I said, the offensive line's not a concern. The backup offensive line, I don't even have to think about those guys. We have enough people on our first team offensive line that could just shuffle around and play different positions, and you might only have to bring in one guy, like a Dan Skipper. I'm very, very confident in Dan Skipper. I think he's very underrated. If something happens to Decker, you slide Sewell over. If something happens to either one of the guards, you bring in Coyote Awasika. If something happens to Frank Ragnow, you throw in Glasgow. It's just, we have 3 or 4 pieces that are just kind of interchangeable. They're just going to kind of move around a little bit. That offensive line was getting hammered last week, man. And I don't think enough people were dogging Nate Sudfeld, and he's been getting dogged pretty hard. But that offensive line wasn't as bad as I thought some other people were giving it, and he was just kind of hindered by himself. Next, let's get into some defensive stuff. And you guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comments. I see a handful of comments coming from. I'm streaming on 3 different platforms, so it's kind of hard to keep track where it's all coming from. I see some YouTube, some Facebook, some Twitter questions. Man, I like it. Let's try to keep it game related. I'm not going to answer certain questions that are on here. So let's get into some defensive stuff. Number one player I'm looking forward to seeing, Broderick Martin, talk of the town. I feel like if we're not talking about Jamison Williams, it's constantly just been Broderick Martin the last couple months. His progression, his growth. I'd like to see him have another solid game last week. See some growth and some development tomorrow. I'd like to just see more of that be consistent. There was a handful of plays where you could see Broderick Martin being dominant, and that's hard to say considering he didn't even play last year. But I kind of raised the question of how long does a project player take? Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. Hopefully Broderick Martin's on that 1-year plan. That's what I would prefer. But I really liked the game Broderick Martin had last week. I thought he was very, very solid. I thought there was only 1 rep, and I'm not even going to knock this too hard. It was 1 rep where we had him back like 3rd and 20. I think they had a holding call. It was 3rd and 20, known passing situation. And Broderick Martin kind of got stood up. He didn't really put a pass rush on anyone. He just kind of stood around like looking to see what was going on. That was the only rep I'm really going to knock on Broderick Martin. But other than that, in the running game, he was dominant. He was taking on 2 blocks, winning both of those battles, getting some pressures. He caused the pressure on, I think it was Ukwu's sack. Broderick Martin should have at least got half a sack on that. But he looked dominant. And it's scary to think what Broderick Martin will be able to do if he's on the second team and he's a guy that we're cycling in and out with DJ Reader, Ali McNeil. If he's getting those second team reps, Broderick Martin coming in fresh, that's a big boy who's with some fresh legs and an elite size, man. He's a tough dude to block. So I'm looking forward to seeing Broderick tomorrow, man. I want to see some more solid games out of him, some more consistently, just kind of build, just kind of, stack those bricks one at a time, build the house. It's not all going to happen in a day, but I just want to see it slowly start to happen, and I think we are. Mekhi Wingo, man. If you guys have been watching my show or my channel long enough, you know that Mekhi Wingo, one of my favorite rookies we drafted. I thought he was a steal, 6th-round pick that I think we probably should have taken in the 3rd round. That's where I had him in my mock draft. Didn't play so well last week. He's a rookie. There's a learning curve with all rookies. Well, Terrion Arnold, he'll have a learning curve as well. It's not all going to happen. It's not all going to click overnight. But Mekhi Wingo didn't have a good game last week, and he took it personal. I saw some stuff on Twitter where, he was upset. He didn't like his play, and some veterans had to reel him in and talk to him and kind of be like, hey, man, it's a preseason game. If you're going to make mistakes, make it now. Let's get it out of the way. PFF graded him a 28 last week. It was the lowest graded Detroit Lions player. And I'm not worried, man. I think Mekhi Wingo's he's just learning. He's just going through it right now. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's ever going to be a future Pro Bowler or a Hall of Famer. And I know I got absolutely hammered when I mentioned Mekhi Wingo and Aaron Donald in the same breath. But if you just look at their physicality, their stature, there's a lot of similarities with Mekhi Wingo and Aaron Donald. So if Aaron Donald and Mekhi Wingo, if we got that type of guy, unlikely, but you guys know what I'm saying? Like it would be fantastic. It would be probably the steal of Brad Holmes's career. But I want to see Mekhi Wingo tomorrow kind of just learn a little bit more, get some more reps, get some more experience, get some more game time. Everything's going to be okay. Just read some of these comments, guys. Bear with me. I apologize. Yeah, I think Martin has improved, definitely. Last year, we didn't even see him on the field. I think he only played a couple games, and you really didn't even notice when he was out there. And Wingo, yeah, he's just going through that learning curve right now. He's going through that rookie process where he's just, the game's fast, everyone's big, everyone's fast in the NFL. And I know he came from the SEC, which is kind of the mecca of college football, but it's still, this is the NFL. It's just a little bit different. It's not, you're not going against shitty like Mississippi State. You're going against guys who are doing this for a living now. It is different, the SEC compared to the NFL, and I think Mekhi Wingo is going to be okay. It's just going to take a minute. The secondary with some of the injuries that I mentioned in the beginning of this live stream. Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, banged up, boo boos. Aaron Glenn, Brad Holmes, or Dan Campbell kind of hinted that, hey, we might just leave those guys alone and not put them in preseason games. We'll just see them week one. So with those two being out, I thought Brandon Joseph last week had a hell of a game. He's fighting for whatever his role is going to be on this team. If it's a fourth string safety that I don't think we're going to be keeping, or purely just a special teamer, I thought Brandon Joseph had a huge game. Not my favorite Lion, Kindle Vildor, had a nice week of practice from what I saw. I saw him guarding up Amon St. Brown and looking pretty solid. Still haven't forgiven him for that NFC Championship game blunder, or blunders, I should say, missed tackles, face mask, all that stuff. So Dorsey as well, Gilmore. I'm looking for those guys this week, man. This is a great opportunity for these guys with Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold sitting. Brian Branch, I don't think is going to play. Kirby Joseph's probably not going to play. So that secondary is probably going to get the most reps out of any position group to really come in and hammer out a position spot. So, guys, I've kind of just broken down pretty much damn near every position group that I'm looking for tomorrow and what I'm kind of hoping to see. So if you guys have any comments, we can kind of open this up to like a little Q&A. Pretty much 90% of your questions will be answered. There's some stuff I'm not going to get into. But again, this is our first live stream for a game show. I've never done this before. Been a hectic week, like I said in the beginning. If you weren't here, had to take a few days off. All good stuff. Nothing bad. Nothing's wrong. Actually, everything's really, really great. But just some stuff I can't really hit on yet. So I had to take a few days off, focus on some other things. It sucks, but I will never miss a game show. I'll be damned if I ever miss a Detroit Lions game show. So if you guys have any comments, questions, leave it down there. We'll have a little chat. Jake Bates, man, I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent. I think this past week of practice, he was looking pretty good. So I know he was kind of like, I had a stretch where he was like 6 of 10 or something like that during practice, and kind of reeled it in and banged out that, I think it was a 53-yarder last week against the Giants. And then I saw in practice, I think he hit a 63-yarder. I haven't seen any video of that, but I think one of the beat writers put that out on Twitter that Jake Bates hammered out a 63-yard field goal. And I thought, damn, man, like we might have a real kicker here. I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. If you guys are here, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, never seen my ugly face before, throw me a bone. Maybe hit the subscribe button as well. Boom Boom Bates. No, I just mentioned Boom Boom Bates. Might be on a little bit of a delay, but that is a nice little nickname. I might have to start calling him that, Boom Boom Bates. I like that a lot. Yeah, Mike. I kind of said that in the beginning. Dan Campbell hinted at some starters playing. Don't know who that'll be. I know I don't want to see any starters out there. I don't think the reward is worth the risk. And Kansas City said that they're going to play Patrick Mahomes. What do you guys think about that? I think that's absolutely stupid. You're the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he should need any preseason reps. I think he should be geared up and ready to go. I don't want to call him the GOAT, but I'll say he's the greatest in the game right now, and it sucks. I wish that was I wish that was the case for the Lions. I do love Jared Goff, but he's not the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know why they would play Patrick Mahomes, MVP, best quarterback. I don't know why he needs preseason reps. Doesn't make sense to me, but hey, Andy Reid knows what he's doing. He's got some more Super Bowls under his belt than I do, so I guess it might be the right decision. You would not play Holmes. I'm not sure who you're referring to there, Kurt. Brad Holmes? I don't think Brad Holmes is putting pads on this week. He might. I don't know. He's that kind of GM. He might throw some pads on to get out there, get a pass rush. I don't know. He's capable. He's got the energy. How do you guys feel? Mahomes. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, I would not play Mahomes either. I don't think he needs preseason reps. He's Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. What's he doing suiting up on a meaningless preseason game? I don't know. But again, Andy Reid, more Super Bowls than Steve Perkins. So he obviously knows what he's doing. I don't cheer for injuries, man. And I kind of I'll tell you guys a little story. I work with a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, golf buddy. He's coming over later today for our fantasy football draft. I don't want to mention him by name, but if you work with us, you'll know who I'm talking about. I don't like to name drop, but A good friend of mine is a Minnesota Vikings fan, man, and he's just kind of going through it this week. He's got his little heart broke twice in one day. He was kind of like, man, I can't believe you cheer for injuries. And if you guys know me, I don't cheer for injuries, man. I was actually looking forward to seeing JJ McCarthy come to Detroit. As a Michigan fan, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks Michigan's had, and it sucks that he got hurt. And when I heard the news that it was a meniscus injury, I thought like he'd miss like a handful of weeks and be good to go by like week 6. They just take it easy with him. But I was a little surprised that they shut him down for the whole season. Those meniscus injuries usually aren't season enders. I don't know if it's because they traded up to get him, and JJ's like the face of their franchise going forward with Justin Jefferson. But I was a little surprised that they just completely shut him down like that instead of seeing how the healing process goes first, just right off the rip, like day one of surgery. They're shutting it down. I was a little surprised that the Vikings did that, and then they lost Jordan Addison for the year. Uh, and I like Jordan Addison. I don't want to tip my hand too much. We got a fantasy football draft at my house later, and there's probably some people hanging around the comments or watching the show, not leaving any comments. But I had Jordan Addison on my fantasy football team last year, and he kind of held the water for me when I had some guys get hurt. So the Vikings, man, they're kind of going through a tough time right now. My buddy was giving me shit. He was heartbroken, and I get it, man. I don't want to be in that boat. I don't cheer for injuries. Injuries take away from the competition of football. That's why we watch. We watch football to be entertained. You're entertained by good play from both teams. Like as fun as it is for the Lions to go out and pound a team like 35-10. Like I love seeing it, but it means a little bit more when you do it against a good team. It means a little bit more if you beat the top dogs in the NFL instead of just wiping the bottom feeders and getting those easy wins. Like I'd rather go to a game, and as long as the Lions win is the most important thing, but I want to see good competition. So I'm actually a little bummed that the Vikings are really kind of getting banged up because the NFC North has been talked about as the bloodbath of the NFL. Like it's going to be the most competitive division in football, and with a lot of the teams and the moves that they all made this year, a lot of them adding running backs or offensive weapons in the draft. I think the NFC North, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough for the Lions to go back to back, and it's just going to make it that much sweeter when we do. It's going to be much, much better. I think JJ's injury is a little more than a meniscus. It might be. I just can only say what's been reported. I don't know. The only thing I've seen is a meniscus injury. If it's more serious than that, I haven't seen it. The only thing that I've really noticed was that it was a meniscus injury. So I don't want to speculate or say maybe it was this. Didn't go to medical school. Not involved with the Vikings. As much as I want to see them struggle, I don't want to see them struggle in this way. I want to see them struggle on a football field. I don't want to see them struggling because they got injuries. It's just kind of how I feel. Like I said, I love football, and I think we can all agree that we love football because it's competitive. If you have a bunch of guys who are injured, a bunch of guys who are banged up, it takes away from that competition. Like Justin Jefferson, as much as I hate him, but I respect his game, I hate to see him play the Detroit Lions because of how good he is. And I know a lot of the other teams have had that opinion about Calvin Johnson or Barry Sanders. Like you can respect it and you can hate to see him play at the same time because, they're probably going to torture your team. And that's essentially what Justin Jefferson's done. So I'm actually a little bummed that JJ McCarthy got hurt. I had to give my buddy a nudge in the ribs and, kind of throw him a little shit. But at the end of the day, like in all honesty, I was looking forward to seeing JJ come to Detroit. And I know we will. We'll see him next year. I hope he heals up. Oh, him and Addison come back, they bounce back, and they put it together, and they come back the same players that a lot of people think they're going to be. And I want the Lions to beat that team. That's just how I feel about injuries, man. I hate to see it. You could be my most hated player in NFL history. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. How do you guys feel about fantasy football draft? So like I said, I have mine tonight. We kind of do ours in an unorthodox way. We don't do like a snake draft. We do an auction draft. If you guys are familiar with that, kind of hosting that tonight. Don't want to tip my hand. I know there's probably some guys lingering around waiting for me to tip my hat, and I'd be just as surprised because I have no idea what I'm going to do either. But I kind of did a game show today. If you guys have any questions, Lions related, I see we got almost a couple hundred guys or people, watchers in here right now. Drop some questions. We'll have a little Q&A. I'm streaming on 3 platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So you guys might not see all the questions that are coming in depending on which platform you're watching from. So greatly appreciate it. If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit that like button for me. I appreciate that more than anything. I'm looking forward to the season, guys. It's getting close. I have a countdown. I'm ready for summer to be over with. I'm ready for some Detroit Lions football, ready for some tailgates, ready to get up there early that first week and probably get up there about 10 a.m. and just kind of hang out for the day, cook some food, throw some cornhole bags around, have some drinks, go to the game, watch the Lions pound Matt Stafford again, and come home responsibly and safely and do it all again for the whole season, man. I can't wait for football. Baseball's not really holding me over like it normally does, as much as I love wearing my old English D hat, my favorite hat, best logo in sports, I think. Tigers just aren't really cutting it for me. I struggle with oxygen. Hey, it changes the strategy, man. It's a little bit more thought. You got to budget some money. You got to be a little bit more strategic. That's why I don't really care for snake drafts. And I used to be like a diehard fantasy football guy where I was in like 4 or 5 leagues. I've kind of just cut it down to one with a bunch of guys from work, and we have a good time, man. We grill some food, order some pizzas, have some drinks. So it's a good time. We're gonna do that later tonight. So I'm excited to have everyone over. I always host since I'm the commissioner of the league, and got to make a stance because last year I didn't even make the playoffs. It was embarrassing. You can't have a Detroit Lions podcast and talk football all the time and not even make playoffs in your league. So I gotta bounce back. This is a bounce back year for your boy here. We are going to win it this year. Guys, any comments or questions? I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and then I got some errands to run. I got to get some chores done before my wife gets home, and if they don't get done, I might not have a place to live. So I got to get some stuff taken care of today. But I think she'll understand if I'm talking football. She'll understand. She might even be watching, so I better be really careful. She'll leave a comment here in about 10 seconds if she is. So got to jump off here in a couple minutes, guys. But again, first game day show that I wanted to do live. You guys caught it at the end. I was just kind of talking about other stuff. I mentioned the Vikings, some fantasy football, some tailgate stuff, but this was a game day episode. If you guys want to go back and like that or check that out from the beginning. And again, like I said, got a lot of stuff going on in my life. So I had to take a few days off. All great stuff, man. I can't wait to tell you guys what's been going on in my personal life, work life. Like a lot of good things are going on. Who do you think will be the number 2 defensive end? Marcus Davenport. If he's healthy, man, Marcus Davenport's a problem. This is a dude from, I think he's from UTEP or University of Texas, San Antonio. One of those two. I can't remember where he went to college. But first round draft pick, man. He's got the talent. It's just the last couple of years he's been bigged up, but he's going to be a really, really good second defensive end. I really think him and Hutch, him and McNeil, him and Reeder, those 2 guys, however they miss and match, whatever side of the formations they're lining them up. I really like Marcus Davenport. And I know a lot of offseason and a lot of the draft stuff was the Lions had to get a pass rusher. And there's some people who are very upset that we didn't address that in a more sexy way, like a Daniil Hunter. But what Marcus Davenport can do is he can rush the passer. He's a big dude. He's physical. He's athletic. The only problem I've ever had with Marcus Davenport is his availability. He's been injured quite a I'd have to really look at it and kind of dive into the injuries and how many games he's missed, but I know it's a decent number. I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I really like Marcus Davenport. What would be your dream trade or pickup for the Lions this season? I did an episode the other day about Hassan Reddick and how he's requested a trade from the Jets. And I know that the Jets have come out and said they're not trading him. But I've said, if Brad Holmes calls, you're the Jets GM, you at least listen to the phone call. I do think that if the Detroit Lions were to do anything, it would be for maybe a number 3 receiver. And I mentioned Hunter Renfrow or Juju Smith-Schuster. Hunter Renfrow or Juju. No one has really taken over that number 3 wide receiver job yet. It's been very inconsistent. It seems like it's changing to me on a daily basis who's playing with the number 1s and who's playing well. Caden Davis, Darius Fountain, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like nobody's really stealing that job. It's up for grabs and no one's really taking it. So if Cortland Sutton is someone that could make sense, but I think you can go sign Hunter Renfrow right now and just kind of lock up that problem and put it to bed. You don't have to worry about it. But for me, I'm not worried about the offense. I think our offense is going to be top 5. I don't even have to, I don't lose sleep over the offense. I know what we're going to do. We're going to run the football. We're going to pass it to Amon or St. Brown. Jamison Williams, I think, is going to have a big year. Sam Laporta year 2. If I were to make a move, it would probably be on the defensive side of the football. I'm at least calling about Hassan Reddick. We have the money to pay him $20 million. That's what he thinks his market value is. If you look at some of the other contracts in the NFL, Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett, those guys are all north of 20. I think if you gave Hassan Reddick $20 million a year, three years, maybe I'd be okay with. Give them a 3rd round pick, give them their 3rd round pick that they gave to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's probably a move I would make. Am I going to lose sleep if it doesn't happen? No, I think we made enough moves on defense this offseason that we're going to be okay. If DJ Reader comes back at about week 4, Marcus Davenport healthy, I think we're going to be okay. So that's a move I would probably make. It'd probably be on the defensive side of the football. I do like Courtland Sutton, and I think he'd be a good wide receiver 3, but I think there's Hunter Renfrow sitting right there as a free agent right now. I'd just go sign him, and I'd be good with it. No need to even make a trade. I'd just go sign a guy, call his agent. Hey, man, when can we get this guy in Detroit? Pick him up at the airport. Here we go. Problem solved. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Like I said, got some errands to run, got some stuff to get done for the wife before she gets off work today. If she doesn't, I'll probably not be living here anymore. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, maybe I'll do a live show at the end of the game tomorrow night. She's going out of town. I got the house to myself. Might have a little guys weekend, fantasy football draft, maybe play a little golf tomorrow while the wife's out of town. Maybe I'll hop on here and do a live show at the end, or maybe even during. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. So thanks for watching. Stick around, guys. If you're new, hit that like button. Much appreciated, guys. Thank you.